We'll take a quick look at our thought for the day. We always start with a thought for the day, and this one is very short and very sweet. It is simply this, and we can all take this to heart. Leaders must be learners. That's right. Leaders must be learners. And one of those leaders we have with us right now is the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Mr. Tim Halman. Good morning, Mr. Minister.
Good morning, Bill. I love that quote. I was a high school teacher for 15 years, so I really appreciate that quote. And I think you always need to have that at the forefront of your mind, right? Leaders have to remain learners. I like that.
Well, how about this one? The one I've used before as well. That we must be we must be learners to become teachers, and teachers to become learners.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. I found all those years in the classroom, you learned a lot from your students, and that thirst for knowledge, you should never lose it. Every day is an opportunity to learn something new.
Absolutely. And you just gave me reason to understand a key part of the press release that came out about your announcement from yesterday, and that has to do with plain language, and we'll get to that in a minute, but boy, oh boy, I really like that, to say the least. Yesterday, you announced environmental changes to the environmental assessment process, ostensibly to support Nova Scotia's transition to a clean economy. And I need to get you to define a couple of things for us before we go any further. The very first statement on the changes include creating a clear path for clean energy projects by moving them to the Class 1 process. So first, please define what in the world is the Class 1 process?
Yeah, so excellent question. That environmental assessment, there's two categories of it. And what we did yesterday is we clarified what we call the Class 1, and that's like the crucial first step a company needs to take in Nova Scotia for large-scale projects. It's a 50-day process where when you register with my department, your application to set up operations, we then have 50 days to look and see how, for example, those wind turbines are going to impact water courses or wetlands, how they're going to impact the overall environment of the area. And within 50 days, a company will get a decision from the Department of Environment, and that decision can be an approval, it can be a more information decision, I need more info to make an informed decision. This is the process we've had since 2008, and what we did yesterday is we clarified that for any clean energy project like geothermal, onshore wind, biomass, using wood chips to heat and provide energy to facilities, that's going to be a Class 1 assessment. And you're seeing across the country, Bill, like all provinces, clarifying their regulations. We have to. We really got to get the economy going. And in Nova Scotia, clean energy projects are an absolute priority because we have to get off coal. We have to utilize the power of our wind energy. We have to utilize clean energy in a time of climate change. So what we've done, we've clarified, we've simplified the process, and this is good for Nova Scotia.
Now, I mentioned about that one statement, and I had two things I wanted you to define for us, Class 1 process. And the other one, we think of clean energy, and you're saying this is specifically about clean energy projects. And our thoughts rush right away to wind turbines, to solar energy, to Bay of Fundy energy, yes, and so on. What do you class then as clean energy projects? Am I missing any?
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, certainly when you think of Nova Scotia, I mean, our ability to harness the power of our natural resources safely and responsibly, all those projects, all those potential projects come into play. I mean, certainly up there in Cumberland County, you see the wind turbines, folks have for years been interested in harnessing the power of the Bay of Fundy, as you know, and that's a priority to the Premier. But as projects happen, there has to be regulations. And, we hadn't updated the environmental assessment regulations since 2008, almost 20 years ago. So this fulfills a commitment we made in the Environmental Goals and Climate Change Reduction Act to clarify the process, to work with businesses and companies and to hear them in terms of what that process should look like, along with other stakeholders. So these changes, they're going to help ensure sustainable energy. They're going to help ensure economic security, and a move to clean energy. It's going to help us fight climate change faster. And Nova Scotia's clean energy plan, lays out the plan for us to get off coal, and we're going to be focusing more on wind energy, solar energy, and obviously the Bay of Fundy is going to come into play with time. I have no doubt about that.
Now, as you probably well know, your colleague Tory Rushton is on this program every single week, and
yes,
the Premier himself is on every single month and has been for more than 5 years. So the topic of clean energy, wind and solar, and particularly the Bay of Fundy, has been a prime topic for our conversation. And of course, they always refer to you. So I'm delighted today that you're here. We kind of get right to the source of it all. We have said, I say we, I'm talking the Premier and Minister Rushton, we have said many times over that if we can ever get a handle on the Bay of Fundy, I mean, we know there's more power generated there in the tidal action than all other places in the world. And that they've made the point that if we can get a handle on, make it work for us, that we can actually nearly power the world. And that's such a mind-boggling thought, that we can become exporters of power way, way beyond our shores and way beyond our economic imagination. Do you sometimes lie awake at night thinking about this possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much potential this province has when it comes to clean energy. You're certainly seeing us move as quickly as we can to utilize the power of the wind, offshore wind, but that Bay of Fundy, incredible opportunity that awaits Nova Scotia. And with opportunity is going to come responsibility. We have to regulate these new emerging sectors, clean energy sectors, responsibly. When it comes to the Bay of Fundy, it wouldn't just be the Provincial Department of Environment regulating, new potential projects. It would be the federal government as well through DFO. And I mean, folks up in your area, I mean, they know the ups and downs that have happened with tapping into that potential. But I can confirm for you, it is a top priority of the Premier of this province. Myself as Environment Minister, and of course my buddy Tory Rushton, who I know has been a very strong voice at the cabinet table over many, many years for Cumberland, but also on this particular topic of unleashing the potential of that Bay of Fundy. So certainly I think for a lot of young Nova Scotians in particular, there's a lot of room for optimism because there's just so many energy sources, new energy sources that'll be emerging. You're seeing that with wind. The Premier was just in Virginia a couple weeks ago for an offshore wind energy conference, because as companies start to build up along our coastline those wind turbines, obviously we're going to utilize that clean energy for our grid, but we also want to utilize that for export. So lots of opportunities await Nova Scotia, and we have a clear regulatory pathway to make these projects happen.
Now, having said that, of course, we talk about clean energy, and Nova Scotia noted historically for its forestry sector. And you didn't leave them out yesterday. You made a mention of streamlining the process for biomass projects. I hesitate to wonder, does that truly fit in the clean energy category?
It does. It does. I mean, Nova Scotia's future for energy is going to be a multitude of energy sources, and biomass is part of that. And what we announced yesterday was clarification that it'll be Class 1 assessment. Forest Nova Scotia, Todd Burgess was with us yesterday, and he was very complimentary and pleased with seeing these changes. I mean, obviously, when you change regulations like this, when you modernize.
Oh, we lost you. Tim Halman, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. He was mid-sentence when something happened and we lost him completely, but I think I may have you now. Are you there?
Hey, Bill, I guess we got disconnected.
Oh, sorry. Well, you were right in mid-sentence and disappeared, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what happened. Yes.
Well, as I was saying, I mean, Forest Nova Scotia, they were quite complimentary yesterday, because, I think for any sector, whether it's forestry, agriculture, fisheries, I mean, our traditional sectors, our traditional industries in Nova Scotia, whenever there's clarity, whenever we reduce undue regulatory burden, that's always welcomed. And again, Bill, this just isn't unique to Nova Scotia. As I said, you're seeing every province and every territory having a look at, how they regulate industries, because we need to build up the economy as quickly as we can. The Premier has, he's been quite clear that, it's unacceptable that, we're ranked 60 out of 60 for our GDP, for our wealth creation. And obviously we need to build the economy up responsibly along our traditional industries like forestry. But we also need the regulations in place, the clear rules in place to facilitate the clean energy industries that are emerging. So we had a lot of folks, speak out yesterday. You had Forest Nova Scotia. They were pretty pleased with these regulatory changes. But you also had, a not-for-profit like the Clean Foundation, who were very pleased to see these changes because we're going to be able to move projects along faster. But we can still, protect the environment, but also build up the economy.
Well, the press release that came out doesn't really delineate the real steps you're taking to make change, except for the fact that a very strong reference to plain language. And when you said you were a teacher, that's when I went, there's where we're coming from. Because the language, the legalese, if you will, the language of government documents, and especially when you're dealing with major involvement of environmental impacts and so on, the language of such usually is beyond the capacity of most people. And you seem to be making this, what you call plain language, understandable for both companies and the public, and this new plain language guidance for everybody in the process. Are you anticipating then that this may appease or assist the public when they have concerns about major developments and they want to be able to respond, but they don't understand what it is you're actually doing? Is this part of the reason?
Yeah. Absolutely. We want to be as open and transparent as we can. And, there's the new plain language videos. It's definitely going to help the public understand the process, the role of the company and the government, the ways that they can participate. We've extended the period of public consultation from 30 days to 40 days, and that also applies to our duty to consult with our Mi'kmaq partners. So we've extended that timeline, so you have an additional 10 days to let us know your thoughts on a proposed project in your area. And I think that's really, really important, especially in a time of rapid change in Nova Scotia. Folks want the opportunity to have their say. Folks also want the opportunity to understand what's being proposed, and I agree with you, Bill. Some of the gobbledygook that may be contained in some of the documents can be pretty challenging. I know even as minister, sometimes I'll read documents and it's like, wow, this is really, really complicated. We need to simplify this, and that's what this does. We have clear guidance documents. There'll be checklists. They'll be on our websites. and folks will have a greater opportunity to better understand what's being proposed. And in my experience as a regulator, I find companies, they want that public support. They want to get that social capital, so to speak, of folks, supporting the projects in their area, whether it's green hydrogen or a wind farm. We're just seeing a lot of new emerging industries, and it's the role of the regulator to make sure and give people the opportunities to understand, how that project could impact their communities. So I'm very excited for these changes. I think Nova Scotia is leading the pack in Canada on regulatory reforms, and this is a real positive for Nova Scotia as we move forward.
And I like the idea that the plain language. These are major projects with major impacts in the province, with major benefits to the province, and the language is so difficult to understand that people sometimes don't want you to proceed just out of plain fear. And any way you can remove that fear and provide understanding is going to make it better for all of us.
Absolutely, and I think making it the process as accessible as possible to residents, ensuring that there's ongoing consultation with our Mi'kmaq partners. I think that's absolutely key, and also another change we've made with this is my ability as a minister. As I'm going through the process and contemplating a decision, I can now engage with external advisors. I could always do that, but now in the regulations, it's been clarified. They can help me evaluate aspects of a project and help inform the minister's decision. So that means if there's water quality experts at Dalhousie University or an agricultural specialist at NSCC, the Minister of Environment can actively seek out and get their third-party advice. And this is all a positive, so that you can make the most informed decision to protect the economy, but also, of course, build up our economy responsibly and sustainably.
Well, Mr. Minister, this is a first for us, and this is just the first step, really, in what might be a major, major future for the province of Nova Scotia. I hope that you'll come back again and give us some more plain language.
Bill, I would welcome that opportunity, and thank you. Thanks for all that you do, and I wish you and your listeners all the best.